Since people have asked about the power chart for my Torth series, I thought I would do a little walkthrough. So first of all, you can see I've got some of it blacked out, and I'll reveal this in a bit. But I did that because I didn't want spoilers. The power system was kind of discovered and revealed throughout the Torth series. You can see up here that this is kind of the magnitude of the powers, and these are the 8 major powers. I created this power system because I wanted to cover pretty much all superpowers with a few exceptions. I didn't want necromancy, bringing the dead back to life, and I didn't want time travel to be a major thing in my series, and it is not. However, time travel is theoretically possible. Anything is theoretically possible with this magic system. So it covers just about every other power that is possible in a fantasy or sci-fi series. They are cumulative, so if you are magnitude 2, you also have 1. If you're magnitude 4, you have 1, 2, and 3 magnitudes. You have all the powers beneath. So I'm going to go ahead and unblack out this part. So now you can see, okay, these powers here are intracorporeal, which means that they're kind of internal or dealing with the mind. These 4 are extracorporeal, and I based them loosely on fire, earth, air, and water, but a little bit more sci-fi twist. So thermokinetic manipulation, so hot and cold, that would be pyrokinesis here. Hydrokinesis includes kind of illusion or vapor magic. Geokinesis includes crystal magic as well as earth magic. Telekinesis includes lightning magic, so it's kind of electromagnetic manipulation. So going over these, first magnitude for all of them are what we call kind of feeble powers. These aren't very impressive, but each magnitude is exponentially greater than the one before it. So if you're magnitude 1 as a prophet, you're a seer. It means basically you get hunches about the future. You're like, ooh, I have a spidey sense. 2 is you're past sensitive, so you can touch objects, touch people, and see their past. You might just get ghosts of moments in time. You might not have a huge amount of control over it, but you do see the past history of things. So magnitude 3, you can see dreams of what your future is going to hold. 4 is a pretty powerful prophet. You touch someone and you see their entire life history in front of them. So you see every major deed that they will do, every major event in their life until they die. An oracle, this is very powerful, and I've got basically one oracle in my Torth series who has been dead for 24,000 years, but her prophecies are still guiding the heroes. And so an oracle is someone who walks the paths, can see millions of futures unfolding. The human brain cannot honestly comprehend what an oracle can see, so people like oracles might have somewhat mental problems, or they're going to be very unusual people. An oracle might influence the future by writing songs and having myths, kind of starting people down a path towards a future that they want to happen. They influence culture and mythology. So yeah, oracle, very, very powerful. Anything 5th magnitude or higher is going to be ludicrously powerful in my universe. 6th and 7th magnitude, I don't have any characters doing this because that's getting into time travel. 6, you can forward and rewind back and forth through your own life and relive parts and redo them. I've seen that done in other superhero stories, and it's a very much an overpowered power. It's usually supervillains have that. And then of course time travel. If you're going to have time travel, the story has to be about time travel, in my opinion, because it's such a ludicrously overpowered power. So my Torth series does not touch upon time travel. It is only rumored or theoretically possible that that's even a thing. You'll notice that here that these kind of lighter things, I have a few things colored differently. What that means is the raw power and the focus necessary to activate that power is automatic. So the user doesn't need basically raw power, and raw power is a thing in my universe. The magic users, known as Yarasensa, they have a sphere of influence, which extends beyond their own body. So someone with a small sphere of influence might only go around a few inches past their body, maybe a few feet. Larger spheres of influence can absorb an entire neighborhood. Ridiculously ludicrous spheres of influence are going to encompass an entire planet. And of course I have one character that is just the most overpowered character ever. And his sphere of influence encompasses pretty much a solar system. Even though that raw power matters to the strength of their abilities, it doesn't actually, it's divorced from the actual powers and magnitudes they have. So someone who has the second incarnation here, they're a minor healer, they could have the smallest sphere of influence or the largest sphere of influence ever. They're still a second incarnation minor healer. If they only have a tiny little bit of power, they might not be able to achieve that without linking to a more powerful, someone with larger raw power. And if they have huge amounts of raw power, they can never go beyond this level if that's what they are. Basically, they were born with that ability, that's all they get. They might be able to link to someone with a higher level and boost their power, but they themselves will never be more than this, if that is what their limit is. And most Yarasensa in my universe only have one or two of these main powers. There are a few that have a lot more, but that's rare. And yes, linking is a thing. Boosting raw power is a thing. You'll notice that some here have half and half. What that means is once they get that shapeshifter power going, it's automatic. It does not require any raw power whatsoever, but it does require some to get it started. And same thing with invisibility over here. But basically all of these lighter colored ones, what this means is no raw power is required other than like what a normal human, a normal living being has, which is kind of a low level baseline. Most of the characters in my Torth series are telepaths. Those are most of the bad guys. The Torth are all third magnitude telepaths. This is what they all are. Now, there are some who might secretly have more power than that. The books start to get into that in the books 4, 5, 6. But books 1 through 3, as far as we know, the Torth basically have these powers right here. They can also give pain seizures, a few of them. It's a thing. Low level is just you feel other people's feelings. This is all within a 4-yard radius, which is what the typical sphere of influence is for a Torth. Within a 4-yard radius, they have both low telepathy and high telepathy. Low telepathy means they can scan surface thoughts and emotions. High telepathy means they can probe deeper, get into your thoughts, your dreams, follow threads of emotion down to traumatic events in your life, so they know a lot about you if they have high telepathy, which is what most of my bad guys have. So they're pretty dangerous. If they get within range of you, they can predict any action you might take against them. So really the only easy way to combat a Torth is to do it from a distance. Getting into these higher powers here, I do of course have a main character who has many of these. I will say that the 7th magnitude is theoretical, and I try to avoid using this 7th magnitude throughout my series. I'm not going to reveal whether my character gets to that level, but he does have extreme zombie mind control, and he's also a super genius, meaning he can process a lot of information, which, with these powers, it makes him almost unbeatable. Now, I do have some bad guys who also have powers in that realm, so I don't want to give any spoilers about who they are, but I do have someone who has high telepathy and is also a touch prophet, and that's one of the bad guys, and so forth. So powers can be revealed. Clairvoyance is a really interesting one as well. That is how you get teleportation, and that is an extremely powerful power in my universe. Again, the first magnitude is not very powerful. They can visit other people's dreams, maybe pop in and out, doesn't tell them a whole lot. Limited clairvoyance means they can ghost to different places. Distance means they can do it at like a pretty long distance, over many miles or continents. And there are some that can do it across planets, but that starts getting into crazy. You've got to be almost a super genius because the universe is constantly in motion. It requires kind of mental calculations on a super genius level, so not easy to do. Object teleporter means they can basically make something appear from a cache or wherever. Self-teleporter, they can teleport themselves. We're getting into very high magnitudes here, so again, these are rare. Basically anything, I would say anything above 4th magnitude is rare in my universe. 5th is extremely rare. You're just not going to encounter many individuals with that level of power. And 6th is almost unheard of. Of course, I might have a few characters that have that power. But anyway, crowd teleportation, they can gate entire armies here and there. Yep, I do have a character who does have that power. Physiokinesis, which is basically healing and shapeshifting, anything to do with the body. Starting off with diagnostic sense. And of course, we go into full-on regeneration from like fatal wounds and congenital diseases they can heal, things like that. Shapeshifting. Again, these are extreme, high-level, high-magnitude powers. You're not going to encounter many people who have that. Most people with this power are basically, they can heal other people's injuries. You can see I've written in between here that there are blended powers where it's like, if you are both a telepath and a clairvoyant and you're in 4th or 5th magnitude, you can project holograms. If you have thermokinetic abilities and hydrokinetic abilities, you can basically be fireproof at 2nd or 3rd magnitude. Telekinesis and geokinesis, once you start getting into 3rd or 4th magnitude, super speed, super strength. I don't think I need to go over all of those, but you can see there's a lot of potential for powers. Now, what do my characters have? I will show you. This is definitely full of spoilers, but I kind of colored them a little bit. My main character of Thomas, he has telepathy, pyrokinesis, hydro. So those are the 3 powers that he has, and he is pretty high up in 2 of them, you can see. Now, my character of Ariok, I gave him the purple. So you can see here, Ariok is extremely powerful with geo and telekinesis, and crowd teleportation, yep. He's also got some powers with healing. Ariok has a gigantic sphere of influence with a lot of raw strength, so he's also great for linking with other characters and boosting their powers. Garrett is the red here. Garrett has all 8 of the powers, but he's weak with most of them. The one that he's really strong with is clairvoyance and telepathy. Those are the 2 that he's strong with. Evangelos, she is an extremely powerful healer. She goes all the way to shapeshifting. And she does also have quite a lot with hydro and telekinesis. So those are kind of cover some of my main characters. I do have other characters that are a little bit weaker than those with other powers. My series also has what they call racial abilities. There are the Torth, who are the main bad guys. They're all telepaths. Now, the Torth all have latent abilities with some of these others, but not all of them. So there are Torth that have some clairvoyant abilities that are latent. They do not tend to have any physiokinesis, so I don't have any Torth characters with healing abilities. And I've also ruled out telekinesis for the Torth. They just don't have that power. Now, there are kind of an offshoot of Torth known as the Alashani, and those are an underground species that have been genetically isolated from the Torth for a very long time. They, unlike the Torth, they don't have a lot of telepaths among them, and when they do have them, they kill them as babies. They are strong with prophecy, telekinesis, basically some of the stuff that the Torth are lacking. They don't have any clairvoyance. And so, again, there's some powers that some characters just don't have. I have a few characters who are hybrids of Torth and Alashani with some human genetics thrown into the mix. And so they are the ones that are able to have all 8 powers, if at all possible. It's just very rare. What powers do humans have, you might ask? Humans are augmenters. Humans tend to have high raw strength, but they don't tend to have any of these powers. So linking with a human can be a very powerful thing. Having hybrid children with humans, it's a thing. But none of that comes into play until later on in the Torth series. That would be like books 4, 5, 6. So that is a spoiler-heavy rundown of my power chart. Hope you enjoyed.